Hello, my name is Tanya Tibshirani and I am a life coach for women. I help women get unstuck out of their survival cycles of life and discover who they are, discover how to take good care of themselves. I help women learn how to cultivate a life that they love to live, a life that they're fully present in, a life that they're engaged with, a life that they feel connected in the relationships that they have, a life where they have hope, a life where they have joy, a life that they can enjoy, a life where they have peace, even learning how to have peace in stormy situations. So that is who I am and a little bit about what I do. I wanted to talk today about clarity and consistency. The reality is, maybe you like me, for a long time, I would set goals for myself and not achieve them. Not achieve them at all. I'd be like, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and this. And maybe I would do really good for like a day or two. Maybe I'd even do good for like a week or two. And then I would fall back to my old habits. So much of our lives are really just about habits. So much of our lives are really just about routines. If we are not intentionally engaging with the habits that we are instilling and developing and cultivating within our lives, then we're not really living fully awake. We're not really living fully engaged. We're actually just subconsciously existing. And you cannot live a fulfilling life when you're in that state of subconscious existence. You're not even alive. Like, you might be living at 10% of your potential. So one of the reasons why people set goals and then don't succeed at achieving them is because they're not clear on their goal. Because the more specific we are, the clearer the target. And the clearer the target, the more likely we are to hit it. So getting really clear is going to help you to be consistent. When you have a clear goal and a clear why, for example, I've just recently, if you're following any of my videos, you know that I'm on my first week of this healthy life journey when it comes to my physical health. My physical health is an area of my life that I've neglected for the last 7 years. I focused on spiritual stuff, mental stuff, emotional stuff, got off of antidepressants, was diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety disorder, all of this stuff I got diagnosed with 7 years ago, and I decided I wasn't going to let my labels limit me. I was going to learn how to live differently. And I actually overcame the things that I was being overcome by, but my physical health was, for the most part, neglected. And so I'm not where I'd like to be. And now I'm choosing to tackle this area of my life. So I've been setting some clear goals. I'm doing the work too. I've been setting some clear goals. I've been getting really clear on my why. I've been getting really clear on what I want and why I want it. The more clear you are on what you want and why you want it, the more likely you are to achieve it. And there's so much science behind this. And we're not going to get into all of that today, but you can either look into it or just trust me. And the reality is a lot of people just feel stuck in life. A lot of people feel stuck and powerless. A lot of people don't have any dreams, don't have any goals. And if you're not living with dreams and goals and you're just living for the day to day, I guarantee you that there's something within you that you feel like you're lacking. And it's because you were not meant to be diminishing and limiting and stagnant. You are a living being. Think about a plant, right? A plant is either growing, it may be in a season of hibernation, right? But it's either growing or it's dying. You are a living organism. You are either growing, your mental, emotional capacity, your relational capacity, your financial capacity. You're either growing or you're dying. You're either flowing or you're stagnant. Think about a river. It gets stagnant, it gets stinky. Nobody wants to go hang out there, right? But a river that's freely flowing, that is something that is peaceful, beautiful, refreshing, right? So what are you? Do an honest intake of your life and just ask yourself, like, am I where I want to be? How do you do this? How do you do self-reflection? How do you figure out what your goal is? How do you get really clear about what it looks like and why that goal is what it is? And how do you get clear about how you're going to go about achieving it? One, you've got to do some self-evaluation. Self-contemplation is a lost art form. We used to have so many poets and artists, and I mean, it was a celebrated gift, was the gift of contemplation. It was encouraged. Life wasn't so busy. We didn't have the luxuries that we have today that actually end up becoming quite a distraction from cultivating and nourishing our internal worlds. So choosing to learn how to self-evaluate, choosing to learn how to ask yourself those questions, choosing to learn how to contemplate, that's where you start. So you sit down, and I'm going to give you 5 simple things that you can reflect on. I did a video last week on this. You can look into it a little bit more. 1, spiritually. What does your spiritual and your faith life look like? Your soul, check in with your soul. Your soul is your mind, your thoughts. What kind of thought life do you have? What's your mind set on? And heart. So many women are completely detached from their heart. They can't even tell you how they feel. The majority of us are not emotionally self-aware. We don't know what we're feeling. We don't know why we're feeling. Maybe we're angry all the time, right? Maybe we're frustrated all the time, or irritable, or depressed, right? But we can't really connect with what's really going on inside of us and why. And so that's why we get stuck in certain emotions, and we don't actually learn how to embrace all emotion and allow it to simply pass through us without it controlling or oppressing us. Relationally, evaluate your relationship, girlfriend, not just your romantic partnership or your spouse, right? But like your girlfriends. Friendship is so imperative to living a healthy, thriving life. We were not created to live isolated lives. We were not created to be so self-absorbed that all we're thinking about is us, our husband, and our kids. That is a very small existence, and you will never feel fulfilled in that. We are scientifically and psychologically hardwired for intimate connection and companionship. We thrive when we live life on life with others, even if it's a small community. Your 5 closest girlfriends, the 5 people that you spend the most time with, are a direct reflection of where your life is going. And I would even say a direct reflection of how you feel about yourself. So ask yourself, who are the 5 people I spend the most time with? Are those relationships of reciprocity? Evaluate your relationships. Purpose. Okay, so many people are lacking fulfillment in life because they don't have a sense of purpose. They don't have a sense of long-term purpose. Figuring out, spending some time to evaluate, like, what is my purpose? And there are specific questions that you can ask yourself to help you figure that out. And that is a video that I could do at some point. If you are interested in that, let me know. And then your physical health. Check in with yourself physically. So do a self-evaluation. Do this. I at least do this once a year. But to be honest with you, I pretty much do it twice a year. But to be honest with you, I pretty much do it monthly. But I do it intensely twice a year. I do it every year around my birthday and every year around the new year. I reset my intentions, and I really hunker down for a couple of days, and I evaluate. And you don't need a couple of days, okay? I am a contemplator. I geek out on this kind of stuff. But if you at least give yourself a couple of hours once a year, you would be amazed at how those 2 hours of intentional contemplation, evaluation, and coming up with a strategic game plan, how that will compound over time and lead to a completely different life. Number 2, after you evaluate and kind of do like a life audit of where things are at now, you've got to figure out what your dream desire is. Like, ideally, what would your ideal life look like? What would your dream life look like? Now, dreaming is something that we have to learn to do again. A lot of us are dreamers as kids, and we tend to lose that when we become adults. And unfortunately, we go from dreamers to dreaders. So there's some inner healing work that you can do to get your ability to dream back again. There's so many things that go into why we live lives of dread and we're not dreamers anymore, but dreaming is such a healthy quality of a person who is living a fulfilling life. Like, people who are passionate about the lives that they live are dreamers. So if you're not a dreamer, you can learn to dream again, and I highly encourage you to figure out how to do that. Number 3, take that dream life, that ideal life, that end goal, that big picture. And maybe you're just starting 3 years from now if you're starting small. Maybe you go 5 years from now. Maybe you go 10 years from now. But take that big picture goal and then deconstruct it. What do you need to do to get there, right? Like I can have this dream of a house, but I need to start with a solid foundation. So you've got to break down that goal into bite-sized pieces until you get to the foundation, and then you begin to build it up. A lot of the reason why women don't achieve their goals is because their goals are too big and too vague, right? To just say, well, I want to lose weight, that's a great goal to have. But what are you going to do to achieve it, right? Now you've got to break that goal down into measurable, sustainable, actionable steps that as you take those little baby steps, you will be one step closer to your end game goal. Number 4, write it down. Write it down. Journaling is another form of art that has been lost on our generation and the generation coming in after us. Spend some time with yourself and write it down. Write your goal down. You're more likely to achieve a goal if you write it down. Number 5, you're even more likely to achieve a goal if you tell someone. In fact, you are 65% more likely to achieve a goal if you tell somebody about that goal. And number 6, invite support and accountability. You're 95% more likely to achieve a goal if you invite support and accountability. So maybe that's letting a girlfriend know, hey, I'm going to go 30 days without drinking wine, or hey, I'm going to take a 21-day social media detox. Maybe it's getting a life coach. This is what I do. This is what I help women. I help women work through this stuff. Maybe it's getting a counselor. Maybe it's getting a mentor. I don't know what that supportive community looks like, but get into a supportive community. It is imperative if you want to achieve your goals. So you guys, clarity and consistency, they come from taking the time to evaluate and get really clear about how things are. You cannot improve a life that you are not willing to inspect. You cannot improve something that you are not being honest about yourself. If you're like, oh no, everything's fine, everything's good, right? But if you really took the time to sit down and reflect on the quality of life that you're living, would you really say that? Or would you say, you know what? I'm actually not that satisfied with my job. I'm not really happy with my parenting style. I feel like I'm angry at my kids a lot, or you know what? I'm really struggling in my singleness, and I'm not really happy with the choices that I'm making. Like, I'm actually making choices that are making me feel worse about myself, not better about myself. Take some time to evaluate. Become a dreamer, learn to dream again, get really clear on what that vision for your future looks like and why, and then deconstruct that goal into bite-sized, daily actionable steps that you can work to achieve it. Write it down, tell someone, and invite somebody to support you and hold you accountable. If you were to work on one area of your life right now, which one would it be? I told you I'm going after some weight loss and physical health, and I'm really curious to know what yours is, because I'd love to support you in your journey to personal fulfillment. All right, you guys, I hope you're doing well. I'll jump on here soon, I'm sure.